Canada, cleanup efforts after Fiona are just getting started. The devastation for some unlike anything we've ever seen. And there are some suggesting it could end up being the most costly natural disaster in the country's history. Glenn McGillivray is a managing director of the Institute for Catastrophic Loss Reduction. He also teaches about disaster and emergency management at York University. He joins us now with some more perspective. Glenn, thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
Obviously, for right now, people are just trying to figure out how to move on with their lives amid all the catastrophe that we have seen in such strong images. But looking at how hard Fiona hit, it's really obviously the financial toll that I guess everyone has to try to figure out. What's your best guess at this point?
Well, I'm really not in the business of guessing. I don't think guessing helps anybody. It's going to take a few weeks to figure out at least the insured cost of this disaster. The economic cost, which includes insurance, but everything else, is going to be a much bigger number. That'll take some time as well. And we don't always get those numbers in Canada. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. But a company called Cat IQ will survey insurance companies, and over the next few weeks, we'll get a very accurate number.
What goes into that process? And I mean, even just looking at the damage, you think about a wide swath of areas that have to, or areas or industries, I suppose, or forms of insurance that have to be reviewed.
Right. So Cat IQ is actually going to survey insurance companies, and this is the best way to do it, to go to the companies, ask them what they're going to pay out for this, add up the number. It's much more accurate than modeling, trying to model the number. If you see some really early numbers out over the next few days, those are modeled numbers. They're not always accurate. Actually going to companies and surveying them is the best way to do it.
And, you know, just in terms of other situations we've seen in Canada, I alluded to the fact that some are trying to figure out, could this be the most costly natural disaster we've ever seen in this country? Are there any other comparables, or maybe obviously people also think about some of that storm damage or hurricane damage we often see in the United States? Are there any comparables that we might see people working off of in this case?
Well, the costliest disaster in Canadian history was the Fort McMurray wildfire from May 2016. That cost insurance companies almost $4 billion. It cost society a total of close to $9 or $10 billion. So that one reigned supreme by a large margin. The atmospheric flooding that happened in BC in November of last year or October, I can't quite recall. We thought that was going to be much larger from an insured loss perspective. It came in at about $600 million. Everybody was talking about that being the costliest insured disaster, but it wasn't. So I'm be quite surprised if this is actually the costliest disaster in Canadian history. It's going to rank up there for sure, but it may not be the costliest, at least not from an insurance perspective.
And what about at a time when a lot of people are looking at the realities of more and more situations around the globe, natural disasters, the cause of that, and how that's going to have to force everyone to take sort of a fresh look at all of these issues. Does that play a role in a process like this as well, as we try to figure out what causes this devastation in the first place?
Yeah, we have a very good understanding of what causes this devastation. We're just not very good at addressing that. But we're really going to have to think hard going forward about what we build, how we build things, where we build things, and putting things back better after a loss like this. This is a golden opportunity to rethink things, to put things back exactly the way they were doesn't make sense. To put some things back exactly in the place they were before doesn't make a lot of sense. We're really going to have to think this over. And in particular, things like public infrastructure, critical infrastructure. I think that whenever a government or a bank is going to finance critical infrastructure, they should require that a climate assessment be done first. And whatever comes up out of that assessment should be addressed. We have to start doing these things. We can't just continue bopping down the road like always. We have to be more resilient, more robust in what we do.
Okay.